ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਨਾਰਥ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਵਿਤਾ ਸਿੰਘ। ਖਬਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਹੈਡਲਾਈਨਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਜੋ ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਸਾਬਕਾ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਡੋਨਾਲਡ ਟਰੰਪ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਦਰਸਾਉਂਦੀ ਮਗ ਸ਼ਾਟ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਤੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਪ੍ਰਤੀਕਿਰਿਆ। ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਟਰੰਪ ਦਾ ਉਡਾਇਆ ਮਜ਼ਾਕ। ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਪਰੀ ਗੋਲੀਬਾਰੀ ਦੀ ਘਟਨਾ, 4 ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀ ਜ਼ਖਮੀ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਦੀ ਵਾਧੂ ਜਾਂਚ ਜਾਰੀ। ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਅਧਿਆਪਕਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ ਵਿਚਕਾਰ ਸਮਝੌਤਾ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਸਕੂਲੀ ਹੜਤਾਲ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ ਖਤਮ। ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਸਟੀਫਨ ਲੀਚੇ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ। ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਵਿਸਥਾਰ ਨਾਲ। ਉਪ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਕਮਲਾ ਹੈਰਿਸ ਨੇ 2022 WNBA ਚੈਂਪੀਅਨ ਲਾਸ ਵੇਗਾਸ ਏਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਵਾਈਟ ਹਾਊਸ ਦੇ ਜਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਅਗਵਾਈ ਕੀਤੀ। ਏਸਿਸ ਨੇ ਫਾਈਨਲ ਦੇ 4 ਗੇਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਨੈਕਟਿਕਟ ਸਨ ਨੂੰ 78-71 ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਰਾ ਕੇ ਚੈਂਪੀਅਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਟਰਾਫੀ 3-1 ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿੱਤ ਲਈ ਸੀ। ਹੈਰਿਸ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਚੈਂਪੀਅਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਪੇਸ਼ੇਵਰ ਖੇਡ ਟੀਮ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਇਸ ਲਈ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਟੀਮ ਦ੍ਰਿੜਤਾ ਨੂੰ ਪਰਿਭਾਸ਼ਿਤ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ।
So today we celebrate a group of leaders that define excellence in every way. ACES owner Mark Davis, team president Nikki Fargas, the coaches, and especially, of course, the players. The winners of the 2022 WNBA championship, the Las Vegas Aces. So it was only 5 years ago that this franchise moved to Las Vegas from San Antonio. And now they are the first major professional sports team in Nevada history, to win a championship. Think about that. And that's because this team defines grit and determination, starting with a coach who is also now a Hall of Famer, Becky Hammond. And so this group knows Coach Hammond is just simply put a winner. She's just a winner. As a player in the WNBA, she was a 6-time All-Star. Later, she joined the San Antonio Spurs as the first full-time female assistant coach in NBA history. And now, as a head coach in the WNBA, she became the first rookie head coach to win a WNBA championship. Think about that. She's a winner. And speaking of winners, let us take pride also in the pride of Columbia, South Carolina, A'ja Wilson. My soror. Couldn't help it. Who helped that state win its first NCAA women's basketball championship, who 2 years ago brought home the gold from the 2022 Olympics in Beijing, who last year won her second WNBA MVP award, and who just this week tied the WNBA record.
ਜਾਰਜੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਜੋ ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਡੋਨਾਲਡ ਟਰੰਪ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਦਰਸਾਉਂਦੀ ਮਗ ਸ਼ਾਟ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਤੀਕਿਰਿਆ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਟਰੰਪ ਦਾ ਹੈਂਡਸਮ ਗਾਏ ਆਖ ਕੇ ਮਜ਼ਾਕ ਵੀ ਉਡਾਇਆ। ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਟਰੰਪ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਸਾਬਕਾ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਟਰੰਪ ਦੇ ਮਗ ਸ਼ਾਟ ਤੇ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨਾ ਸਾਧਦਿਆਂ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਟਰੰਪ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਬਹਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਆ ਗਿਆ। ਚਾਰ ਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੁਲਾੜ ਯਾਤਰੀ ਸ਼ਨੀਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੇਸ ਐਕਸ ਤੇ ਰਾਕੇਟ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਅੰਤਰਰਾਸ਼ਟਰੀ ਪੁਲਾੜ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਰਵਾਨਾ ਹੋਏ। ਉਹ ਸੰਭਾਵਤ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਐਤਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਪੇਸ ਐਕਸ ਕੈਪਸੂਲ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਪੁਲਾੜ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਮਾਰਚ ਤੋਂ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਚਾਰ ਪੁਲਾੜ ਯਾਤਰੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਥਾਂ ਲੈਣਗੇ। ਕੈਨੇਡੀ ਸਪੇਸ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਤੋਂ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੀ ਪੁਲਾੜ ਏਜੰਸੀ ਨਾਸਾ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਪੁਲਾੜ ਯਾਤਰੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੈਨਮਾਰਕ, ਜਾਪਾਨ ਅਤੇ ਰੂਸ ਦੇ ਯਾਤਰੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਡਾਨ ਭਰੀ। ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਲਾਂਚਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੁਲਾੜ ਯਾਨ ਦੀ ਹਰ ਸੀਟ ਤੇ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਪੁਲਾੜ ਯਾਤਰੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਸਨ।
I was so proud of the team, the way they decided to take a little time to complete the analysis on one of the components aboard the Dragon. It shows how well our teams work together and the way they feel empowered to analyze the data and make sure our vehicles are really ready before they fly. The safety of the crew is very important to all of us, and it's really neat to see how well our SpaceX, NASA, and international team works to ensure that we're always ready. The mission's just started. They're many days ahead of the crew that just launched. They still have to dock to station. They've got a lot of exciting science to do while they're up there aboard the station, and then we need to get them home. And of course, we've got the Crew 6 return coming after this crew reaches station. So we have plenty of excitement ahead of us and plenty of things that we need to pay attention to.
The crew's doing well. They looked excited on orbit. And, the rest of their day, there was a phasing burn that we did about 4:15 a.m. Eastern. There'll be another burn tonight at 8:37 Eastern, and then most of their day is, getting out of their suits. They'll get some time to take a nap, have a meal, and do activities on Dragon. We're setting up for the docking. It's early Sunday morning. There'll be an approach initiation burn at about 7 a.m. Eastern time. It's about a 29-hour journey to the space station this time, and docking would be about 8:39 a.m. Eastern on Sunday, so a little over 29 hours from launch. We had a great countdown today, and I was very proud of our team. The NASA and SpaceX team worked through a pretty challenging problem, and Benji Reed will talk more about that, but we had an indication of some NTO vapor in one of the sensors that reads that vapor as it comes out of the service section. We needed to take our time and talk through that and make sure that we didn't have any significant items going on with the prop system. The team did that. It was great to watch Stu Keach of SpaceX in particular and John Posey from NASA work together and get through that problem today. And just to me, it's a tribute to the whole team and how we've grown over the years of flying in space together between NASA and SpaceX. It was a busy week, I would say, all the way back to the flight readiness review. During the crew dry dress, we had an O2 sensor in Dragon that was a little erratic. It's one of 5 sensors used to measure the O2 as we inject O2 into the cabin and keep that oxygen level right. So we swapped out that sensor, checked that out, and got into the countdown later on.
ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਓਕਲਾਹੋਮਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 4 ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੋਲੀ ਮਾਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਮੁਖੀ ਕੈਲੀ ਮਾਰਸ਼ਲ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੌਕੇ ਤੇ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਘਟਨਾ ਵਾਲੀ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਸੱਦਿਆ ਗਿਆ। ਮੌਕੇ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਗੋਲੀ ਲੱਗਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਖਮੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਸਪਤਾਲ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਇਆ। ਕੈਲੀ ਮਾਰਸ਼ਲ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਗੋਲੀकांड ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜ਼ਖਮੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਅਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਹਸਪਤਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਲਾਜ ਅਧੀਨ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਸਥਿਰ ਨੇ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਦੀ ਵਾਧੂ ਜਾਂਚ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ।
Younger, probably a high school student, was treated and released. It was a wound to her thigh, and that's really all I know right now.
Chief, this is going to be your worst. Chief, this is going to be your worst nightmare. Shooting at an event like this. I mean, your thoughts and responses. Do you all practice for this?
Well, first of all, I hate that it happened. We both have great students. We both have great cities that we work for, that we protect. We always have security at our games. I know I had 5 officers here. Chief Berger had at least two.
At least 2, maybe 3.
At least 2. And that's just normal. That's just routine that we have for the safety and security. I think that with the large amount of fans that we had here, as I arrived, people were leaving in an orderly fashion, as orderly as it could be, so I appreciate that. Everybody has cooperated with us, and so we'll just conduct our investigation from here.
Chief, parents that are still waiting, or any parents that are seeing this?
We've tried to let the parents know to pick them up at the building just behind us at the weight room. Parents of band students, they will be delayed. We are trying to get their names and contact information just to see if they've seen anything. We have, as far as athletes, we have just finished getting the roster for them, so they should be headed back home soon. I appreciate the response that we have had from our law enforcement community. I mean, it means everything that we can count on when we have something of this magnitude. You know, we want to process the scene as quickly and as thoroughly as possible. We want to bring the people in that are responsible for this, and of course we want to protect our citizens that are here, and I appreciate the response that we received.
What does this weekend look like, and what does Monday look like when the classes go back?
That's going to be with, I'm sure we're going to be in contact with our school administrators. I just haven't had a chance to do that just yet.
ਕੁਈਨਸ ਪਾਰਕ ਵਿਖੇ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ ਹੋਇਆਂ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡਗ ਫੋਰਡ ਨੇ ਰਿਹਾਇਸ਼ੀ ਵਿਕਾਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਅਤ ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਬੈਲਟ ਜ਼ਮੀਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਖੋਲ੍ਹਣ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੀ ਯੋਜਨਾ ਦੇ ਆਲੇ-ਦੁਆਲੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਵਿਵਾਦ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਬੋਧਿਤ ਕੀਤਾ। ਡਗ ਫੋਰਡ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣੇ ਇੱਕ ਚੇਤਾਵਨੀ ਸ਼ਾਟ ਭੇਜ ਰਿਹਾ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਿਹਤਰ ਢੰਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਸਾਰੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰੋ। ਉਸਨੇ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਰਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ ਪਰਮਿਟਾਂ ਵਾਲੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਦੇਰੀ ਦੇ ਉਸਾਰੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸਖਤ ਸੰਦੇਸ਼ ਦਿੱਤਾ।
Well, I'm not worried about that, and I'll tell you the reason why. We were elected on a mandate on a few issues. Number one, making sure we have the economy going, which we have one of the strongest economies in North America, creating jobs. We're elected on building infrastructure including the highways 413, Bradford Bypass, widening Highway 3 and Highway 7 in Kitchener, building hospitals, putting $50 billion, 50 sites around the province, building schools. We have $500 million being spent every single year on building schools. There's over 100 active schools being built right now. Long-term care as well. We're building tens of thousands of homes for long-term care people. At the end of the day, it's results. We can talk and talk and talk, like every government I've ever seen talk about it, but we have a strong plan. We have a strong plan for when I go to these factories and I'm talking to the people on the line that are coming up to me telling me they can't afford rent, they can't afford a mortgage because the Bank of Canada continues to raise interest rates, and it's making it unaffordable. It's very simple, supply and demand.
You insist that nothing wrong happened with the Green Belt deals. If nothing wrong happened, why did Ron Amato resign?
Well, let me speak about the process. I've come out here a couple times now. We're correcting the process. We're taking the 14 recommendations from the Auditor General and we're correcting it. I'm first to admit the process could have been better. But, you know, we need a wartime effort right now on all fronts. We all have to be working together. And I have to tell the builders out there, I talked to a lot of mayors. I talked to a lot of them at AMO. And, I'm drawing a line in the sand. If you don't start building, be it the green belt, or I'll be pulling that out as sure as I'm standing here, or if you have permits within municipalities, I'm talking to the mayor saying, so many builders have permits and they aren't building. That's unacceptable.
Premier, this is your signature policy, building housing and opening up the green belt. How is it that you're saying a senior staffer, unbeknownst to you, essentially orchestrated the whole thing? How is that supposed to be believable?
Yeah, well, let me tell you very simply, and it goes for any premier. You get stuff put in front of you before cabinet, which I did. My exact words, cross the T's, dot the I's, everything's fine. I can't micromanage at one of the largest, I call it a corporation, one of the largest corporations in North America of $204 billion of revenue, hundreds of thousands of employees, a GDP over $1 trillion.
ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਅਧਿਆਪਕ ਹੜਤਾਲ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਜੇਕਰ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਯੂਨੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਵਿਚਕਾਰ ਸ਼ੁੱਕਰਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਰੀ ਹੋਏ ਨਵੇਂ ਪ੍ਰਸਤਾਵ ਨੂੰ ਸਵੀਕਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸਹਿਮਤ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਸੀ ਸਮਝੌਤਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਅਧਿਆਪਕ ਹੜਤਾਲ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਸਟੀਫਨ ਲੀਚੇ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ। ਸਟੀਫਨ ਲੀਚੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਸਥਾਈ ਸਮਝੌਤਾ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਦਕਿ ਯੂਨੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰਸਤਾਵ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ।
I mean, you all know, as many of you as parents, you've seen the impacts of the pandemic. You've seen the impacts of strikes. You've seen the anxiety imposed on families because of these, what feels like the constant threat of a strike. Every year, every 6 or 12 months, there's another discussion about some form of education instability. We are providing stability for families. We're getting a fair deal on the table, a tentative agreement with OSSTF. And if we can do this with the other unions, which I know we can, and if they accept it in the coming days, we could provide that certainty for moms and dads, for guardians and parents, and for the kids themselves. So let's put kids first. Let's put their interests first. Let's get this agreement done. The fact that we were able to do so with OSSTF today in a tentative manner, still subject to their membership ratification, but endorsed by their provincial and local leadership, is a positive step forward. I now want to do this right across the board so that we can enter the school year with a real sense of stability. These kids need to focus on academics. We need to get back to those basic foundational skills. You've seen the EQAO data. We've seen significant regression reading, writing, and math. There's no jurisdiction in the world that has not seen that regression. In Ontario, our strategy is premised on keeping them in class, investing in frontline academic success, and emphasizing skills around reading, writing, and math and STEM disciplines. And if we do that, I do believe we're going to see kids lift, improve standards, and outcomes for young people in Ontario. In the last round, we were able to consent to agreements that were negotiated between the parties. In my experience, this is new. Appreciating I've been as ministers for 5 years. But I know in other sectors of the civil service and the broader public service, it has been used. There's tons of precedent with across government. Again, the priority of the government was to offer something that we believe is fair for all the parties. So let's continue to negotiate in good faith. If we can't agree on those specific terms, we have a path to get to an agreement that is fair, that ultimately a third party will decide upon, an arbitrator. So we use this in many sectors of the economy, many ministries, and I have full confidence that we could agree to a mutual third party. All parties would agree to that person, and we get this done. I just think the number one priority for the government is providing some peace, some stability, some hope to young people who faced real challenges over the past years, and I am confident that the plan we put in place will achieve that. I'm going to go through ratification, and like the last time I did this when I was before the media 3 years ago, I had to commit to maintaining the confidence of that process. This is going to go before their members. I have to respect that process. They need to be able to ratify this independent of myself and other political actors. So I will respect that process. They've got a tentative deal before them. Of course, following ratification, all the details will be unveiled. I could say it's fair for all parties. It keeps kids in school.
ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਵੈਸਟ ਕੇਲੋਨਾ ਫਾਇਰ ਹਾਲ ਦਾ ਦੌਰਾ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੰਗਲੀ ਅੱਗ ਦੀ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ। ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕੁਝ ਵਸਨੀਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਛੱਡੇ ਹੋਏ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਸੱਚਮੁੱਚ ਡਰੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਡਰਨ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਵੀ ਨੇ।
Everywhere across the country is communities stepping up to be there for each other, neighbors helping neighbors, people welcoming their fellow Canadians coming in from far off communities, fleeing for their lives, having lost everything. It is an extraordinary credit to all Canadians how people have pulled together in the most difficult and terrifying times. I'm here in Kelowna today to be able to thank so many of the firefighters who've been on the front lines here over the past while, but even as I'm in Kelowna, I know places across BC are continuing to fight and struggle with forest fires. We are going to continue to be there as a federal government in supporting whether it's with the Canadian Armed Forces, whether it's with federal supports to the provincial resources. This is all about everyone coming together to be there for each other. That's what we're seeing from individuals. That's what we're seeing from orders of government. That's what we're going to continue to focus on even as we move forward and rebuild and learn from the experiences here and prepare for challenges into the future as well. Well, right now we're still very much focused on getting through the emergency phase we're in right now, but there's no question there are lots of extraordinary stories of heroism, of effectiveness, of things that we've learned from years past, well put into place now. But there's a lot more to learn and there's a lot more to do. We know, unfortunately, extreme weather events are going to get more frequent, more extreme in the years to come, and we have to learn very much from what worked, also what didn't work as well as it could have, and put that in place. So I look forward to lots more conversations with Premier Eby and with ministers and with municipalities to make sure that we're preparing for years to come.
And then the Premier of the Northwest Territories has spoken out about infrastructure gaps there and say that the federal government has failed because of those infrastructure gaps. Wondering if I could get your reaction to those.
When I spoke with Premier Cochrane last week in advance of the evacuation, it was clear that having one road that itself was vulnerable out of Yellowknife, it was a huge challenge. We're talking about the concerns about evacuating close to 25,000 people from the territorial capital. And within 2 days, they'd evacuated close to 20,000 people in a very effective way. And that's, as you say, not a credit to great infrastructure, because the infrastructure wasn't. It's a credit to community members and individuals and people and frontline support workers helping out, making sure that it all happened effectively.
ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਟਾਰਮ ਡਰੇਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੁੜੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਦੀ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਅਮਲੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਭਾਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕੋਈ टीनेजर लड़का है। टोरंटो फायर चीफ जॉन कार्सन ने आख्या कि 2 व्यक्ति जिन्हां दी उम्र 18 साल दे नेड़े तेड़े होवेगी स्ट्रीम दे नेड़े सैर कर रहे सन जदों अचानक पानी दा पद्धर वध गया ते उन्हां नूं वहा के नाल लै गया। पुलिस दे वल्लों मामले दी जांच जारी है।
So approximately 1:20 this morning, we got a call. All 3 emergency services got a call for the report of 2 teens who had been swept away in a storm sewer. One of the teens had self-rescued. He was able to cling to the side of a rock face and pull himself out, where he walked up to the parking lot and alerted some passerbys who called 911. The other person was unaccounted for. Unfortunately, we found that second person just a short while ago, and he succumbed to his injuries, unfortunately. I'd like to say, though, our condolences go out to the families and friends of this individual. So that's where we're at right now.
So they were in the storm drain system and then were swept into the river?
That's correct. Our understanding was that they were in the storm drain system. They went approximately 300 meters through the system, down a chute, and into the river where they were swept away. It's not really for me to say. That's more Toronto Water. They deal with the systems like this, so I mean that's something that you might want to talk to them about. But they do warn people not to go near the water's edge when the water level is that high.
Can you describe a little bit more about how the infrastructure here works? Whereabouts did the teams go in? And I'm understanding this is kind of like a manufactured creek, and where does it go? Can you explain all that to us?
Right. So it does start up at the top of Earl Bales Park. There is manhole covers that they would have had to access through that. The tunnel, my understanding, is about 300 meters long that they went through. There's a grate at the other end which opens on hinges to a large chute that empties out into the river, just that right below the reservoir that's attached to the Don Valley Golf Course.
Are they teen boys?
Teen boys.
Could you explain where were the boys when this happened? Did they actually venture into the system?
Yes, my understanding was that they did venture into the system, and they got caught with the water levels rising. They tried to get out, but it was too late. The water swept them downstream.
ਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਨ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਦੀਆਂ ਖਬਰਾਂ। ਜਾਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੈਡਲਾਈਨਸ ਤੇ। ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਜੋ ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਸਾਬਕਾ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰਪਤੀ ਡੋਨਾਲਡ ਟਰੰਪ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਦਰਸਾਉਂਦੀ ਮਗ ਸ਼ਾਟ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਤੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਪ੍ਰਤੀਕਿਰਿਆ। ਬਾਈਡਨ ਨੇ ਟਰੰਪ ਦਾ ਉਡਾਇਆ ਮਜ਼ਾਕ। ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਪਰੀ ਗੋਲੀਬਾਰੀ ਦੀ ਘਟਨਾ, 4 ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀ ਜ਼ਖਮੀ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਦੀ ਵਾਧੂ ਜਾਂਚ ਜਾਰੀ। ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਅਧਿਆਪਕਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ ਵਿਚਕਾਰ ਸਮਝੌਤਾ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਸਕੂਲੀ ਹੜਤਾਲ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ ਖਤਮ। ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਸਟੀਫਨ ਲੀਚੇ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ। ਤੇ ਸਨ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਦੀਆਂ ਖਬਰਾਂ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ। ਨਵੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਤਾਜ਼ਾ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਣੇ ਰਹੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ। ਧੰਨਵਾਦ।